Hello, brilliant souls. Welcome to Rainbows in Real Life, the show dedicated to bringing positivity to the forefront, celebrating the power and promise of the human spirit, and supporting each other in challenging times. We believe when we join together, we all live better lives, and we're exploring ways we can do that in today's ever-changing world. I'm Pamela Aubrey, and I'm here with my rock star co-host, Christopher Rausch, the No Excuses Coach.
What's happening, Pam? It's great to see you.
Thank you, and fabulous to see you as well. How are you doing tonight?
Thank you. I'm good. I just got through with a 3.5 hour marathon writing session for the book. And it's good stuff. I'm finally graduating to another part of the book that will give me an opportunity to think about different thoughts than when I was in my childhood. So it's all good. And I think I'm on track to get the rough draft done by the end of May. So
nice.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. How about you?
We're here with one of your friends tonight. So we're talking about something that I know is near and dear to your heart. We're here with Serena Buffalino. So welcome to the show, Serena.
Serena's in the house.
Hello, Pamela, Christopher. I'm super excited to be here, and thank you for having me. I know we spoke about this for a while, but now is the time.
Yeah, exactly. Everything happens in the right time. So great to have you here. And we're really just focusing on help heal humanity and the great work that you guys have been doing through this organization. So while we're in the midst of that, though, we like to have a little fun. And I know that you've had kind of an interesting life story yourself. So if someone wrote a book about you, what would it be called?
Oof.
I would know something about resilience or like hustler. I always say I'm a hustler for humanity. So I think that would be a good book, but I don't know. And then I'd always say something like maybe some kind of a resiliency, because so many challenges and obstacles, but I'm just so determined that I just keep trying and keep going. And if I fail,
humanity hustler. I love it.
Yeah.
I would say it would be called The 1,000 Lives of Serena Buffalino, because you literally have had 1,000 lives in different aspects of different things.
I don't know about that many, but yeah, we're getting close. I think by the time I die, for sure, it'll be that many. Yeah.
I love it. Well, and that's what keeps it exciting, right? You got to mix it up. So tell us a little bit about what's been happening. I know there's been a lot going on in Haiti this year. So, I mean, that's just like 10 topics in and of itself. But tell us about what's been happening with Help Heal Humanity in the midst of all that.
All right. So yes, Help Heal Humanity kind of happened organically. I was a special education teacher working with at-risk youth, and it kind of just bloomed in my classroom, kind of teaching and inspiring youth that we can do anything we put our minds to. And again, having no idea what I was doing, I was just role modeling that we can do it. It was just after the 2010 earthquake in Haiti that, when my students learned about kids that were suffering in the world greater than they were, they basically said, Miss B, you tell us we can do anything, so let's build a school for these children. And I said, sure, yeah, let's do it. Like, I mean, it's so silly, but like we're Googling, like, how do we do this? And then, again, it's just, we raised some funds. I jumped down to Haiti and, given a life of being in education, being in community service, working in various jails, detention centers, group homes, foster cares, mental health hospitals. I've kind of spent the majority of my life in kind of hard to serve areas. And then when I jumped on the plane and I flew to Haiti, I was like, my entire life again shifted perspective, because I never would imagine that a place like that would exist in the world today. And even as you said, like, even I've been there for 11 years now, and Help Heal Humanity formed based on building that school there. You would like to think and imagine that it's getting a little bit better year after year, but that's just not the case in Haiti. So again, long story short, raised the money, took a lot of years to raise the money to oversee the construction of the school. And, being on the grounds in Haiti and spending a lot of my life there. At one point, I moved there for 3 years. I think people saw the dedication and the heart and the integrity behind it. And it wasn't like I had a big plan of action. It wasn't like I knew exactly what I was doing. I was just like, look at me, I'm here, I'm trying, and you can help, and we can do it together. And that's kind of how it took off. And then I started to see, like, people started to pay attention, and then, people were making larger donations. And it was like, if I was going to continue doing this work, I needed to actually form a charity. So in 2018, the end of 2018, I took a step back from my teaching career to start this non-for-profit, which is totally volunteer ran, right? So Christopher is on the board of directors in the USA. We're registered in Canada. We're getting our registration in Haiti as we speak. We should have it in the next couple weeks. And we are doing work in Spain. And all of this is just an idea with a lot of amazing people who are coming together to donate their gifts, their talents, and their resources to actually make a difference in the world. So nobody is there because there's a paycheck, even though I think we would get a lot further with paid staff. And we're just doing the good work and the good deeds and hopefully slowly impacting communities, children and youth. Right now, not on a huge scale, but over time, hopefully we can be doing it successfully globally.
Wow. So I know, like you said, you and Christopher have been working together this last year. So tell us about some of the things you all have been working on.
So the majority of the 2019, we were doing, at least here in Canada, we were doing large events to raise money for our school in Haiti. In 2020, we got our USA board happening. And then we, that took a while to get our full 501c3, to get our compliance. It's much different in Canada than it is from country to country, but the USA is actually a lot more difficult because it's not just getting your charity status or receiving your 501c3. You have to actually get compliance from every single state, and that just takes a lot of time and energy. So we spent a lot of time getting that all set up. We started running some, local programs where I am going into various schools, both virtually, online, and in person, where I'm promoting, help heal humanity, because we are an education-based charity. I do believe in education, but I also don't believe that education is the end-all be-all. And I do feel like the curriculum that teachers are teaching is what the government and we're mandated to teach, but I don't feel like people are teaching the life skills, the social skills. I don't feel like enough of, learning about ourselves, our feelings, our emotions, healthy relationships, how to respond to what we're thinking, how to respond to our family, our friends, our community, how to respond to bullying, self-love, self-respect. And so to be able to go into the classrooms, which is what we're doing now, and start to inspire youth, that give them the tools and the resources to understand that they're capable of great things, that they can actually follow their dreams. Because a lot of people don't say, when even my students, when they'd be like, "Miss, I want to be this," or "I want to be this," but my mom says, "I can never be that." Like crashing kids' dreams before you even give them a chance to try, and that's something else I think is so important, is teaching youth that messing up and getting it wrong is actually part of the process. So instead of feeling sad and bad or angry about it, it's just actually a learning step. And I think, Chris has a very inspiring story. And I feel like, I spent my whole adolescent years in principal's office because I wasn't your typical learner. So when you can go into these kind of environments and show kids, I was like you and I struggled, or I didn't do good, or I was told I was never going to amount to nothing. And with hard work and discipline, actually, you can do anything, and just start to give them a different way of thinking. Because I think that's what's missing is being able to trust your instincts, trust your guts, be able to have the courage to go for something, even when everybody's saying it's not going to work, and be okay to mess up all the time. And as I always say, be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Right.
So we're focusing on that education piece. And then, this year, because Haiti is our main project country, there was another massive earthquake in August. And it wasn't part of our strategic planning in any of our countries. We didn't plan for this. But as a charity that focuses on Haiti, a lot of people reached out to us and said, like, what are you guys doing? And, within weeks, we had raised funds. We had raised awareness. Wow. I was on the grounds in Haiti, which is really sad reality, because Help Heal Humanity was one of the first response teams.
Wow.
That to me is like, really sad, in the grand scheme of charity and of charity work, we are just like little seedlings that are still like in the dirt, and we should not be one of the first response teams in Haiti, right?
Right.
And then just that was another thing. Everybody's like, don't go down there. You know, there was just an assassination of a president. There's gangs taking over. There's the earthquakes and they're still trembling. There's storms. There's chaos. There's no
Right.
law and order. Like, you shouldn't go be doing this relief work, especially on the grounds. And it's just like, you know, when you just trust and you believe and you just don't listen, which I tend not to listen a lot, and you just go for it. You know, that's what I mean. That's having the courage and the strength to just do it and not know what the outcome is. I feel like when you're doing the right thing, everything kind of just works together to make it work for you, right? And so I think that's the main goal of HHH, is to get people to think, you know, outside themselves, to get people to think outside the box, and to just to have the courage to do it. And you know, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're going to fall, you're going to fail. Who cares? You tried. It's better to try and fail than never try. So I'm doing all the talking. Chris, sorry. I feel like I just talked way too much.
No. What I want people to know, the thing that I was most surprised about, and since we're focusing on Haiti, the thing I was most surprised about when you were talking about this is, in my mind, I thought, okay, Haiti's a country that needs a lot of assistance. I mean, government, you know, systems wise and everything else. So I thought in my mind, charitable organizations going down there to help feed their people. I thought, oh my God, you know, they'd be welcoming them and like giving them carte blanche, like, hey, come take care of our people. Tell people about that experience, because I was mortified when you started sharing with me how challenging and difficult it is actually to get relief efforts down there.
Oh, and especially right now, like Haiti as a whole, with all the current political problems, is extremely dangerous. So like 10 years ago when I first started, I had to deal with people that you want to trust, you know, people that, you know, say that they're trustworthy, and, you know, and you want to work with them because they say, I'm running an orphanage, I'm running a school, I'm helping the kids, I'm all about the kids. And then you get touched and moved and you want to help. But then the majority of the people that you're working with are really dodgy people or corrupt, or at least at that time, those are the kind of people that I, you know, happened to connect with. So giving aid, and then just now giving aid, it is extremely difficult because you're targeted. You're automatically seen as you have money, even though what you're doing is a good deed to help others. There's so much poverty. There's so much uncertainty. There's so much chaos that people will kill you for $5, literally kill you for $5. And like, you know, when we were on the grounds in Haiti, I had already seen an enormous amount of devastation. I had already been there for the first earthquake. I've already been there to see and run programming in not just Haiti, but what is considered the hardest to serve areas in Haiti, which is how we built a very good reputation, because most people don't succeed in the neighborhoods we are in. And, you know, again, resilience, strength, determination, just keep going. Okay, we screwed that up. Those people were not good people, but you know what? I'll hire the people. I'll stay on the site. I'll get the resources, and just keep on giving. And, you know, just now with the recent earthquake, you know, the UN was flying just like not that high above me in their helicopters, and they found my GPS, and they figured out how to reach out to me, and the Red Cross as well, because I started communicating with both of them. And they were like, what are you doing on the grounds like that? Like, you shouldn't be on the grounds, like your safety's in jeopardy, and like you need to stop doing that. And I'm thinking to myself, I need to stop doing this. You need to get out of those helicopters and come down here and join me, because you have millions of dollars and we just have thousands of dollars, you know? And that's the main thing, you know, is if you're working with good people, if you're working with integrity, and if you're working with people who want to do good, it doesn't take a lot of money. It doesn't take as much money as you think it does. And to see what HHH is capable of doing with people who are all showing up, and they're all showing up because they don't want to get paid. They're showing up because they believe in our efforts to help their communities. And, you know, in return, they just asked for a meal. That's the magic. That's how HHH gets away with it, is we're not going in there like, you know, a big squad. Also, you know, like foreigners or, you know, international charities coming down here and saying, you need to do this, 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 this. we're like this. We're like a peanut surrounded by all the Haitian people, all the Haitian communities. And they're just telling us what they need to be successful. And we are just that tool to facilitate what needs to be done. Right. So
just, yeah, so amazing. I mean, I want people to understand. I mean, you guys are still, I mean, going back to what you were saying earlier, you're still putting yourselves together. Like, I mean, as much as you've formed this nonprofit, you're still forming it. And yet at the same time, you're taking on all of these other issues. And so really extraordinary what you were able to do with the resources that you had. And fortunately, obviously, you had some great resources and people supporting you. But all that to say that, you know, this obviously what has been a major endeavor kind of like from the beginning. So tell us a little bit about, you know, how can people learn more about this? How can they find out what's really going on and what you're doing, how they can be a part of it?
Yeah, no, definitely. I'd say, you know, go to our website, which is helphealhumanity.org. Sign up for our newsletter. Our newsletter, you know, it goes out every 2 months. It gives an update on what is happening in all of our countries. And most importantly, like, we need help. We need help in every direction, whether it's a board member, whether it's an officer, whether it's a volunteer, whether it's a committee leader. We need a lot of help and support. And again, because we are volunteer based, people only have so many hours in the day to give. So it takes like literally like not just a village, but an entire army to try to do what we're doing successfully. And, you know, sponsorship program. You know, we run a school in Haiti. We used to have 125 kids in our school. During the pandemic, we went down to half of the number because funding is more difficult to achieve right now. You know, the ultimate goal for 2022 is to get all 125 kids back in school. You know, the other major thing is we've been running this successful program for over 5 years now, but the directors and the teachers are calling me and they're like, Serena, like, thank you to all the donors and all the supporters, and what you guys doing is amazing. But these kids are starving. Like, they're literally starving. And when you don't even get like and I say this, a cup of water to hydrate you, let alone any food or nutrition, they're saying like it's just getting increasingly more difficult to keep the kids focused and disciplined because they need a meal plan. You know, currently we're giving the kids 2 meals a week. In my dream world, we could be feeding the kids every day because that's the only meal they're getting. It's not like they're going home and they're getting a meal at home. You know, often we've sent the kids home with bags of rice and peas and oil so that the family can eat as well. But all of that takes funding. All of that takes support. And that's really what we need is, you know, we can't do it alone.
Tell us a little bit more about what that looks like. I mean, if the need is just to feed the kids primarily, if that's your biggest need, then, you know, what does that look like financially for you guys?
So to send a child to school for 1 year in Haiti with exams, registration, textbooks, uniforms is $500. $500. To give them a meal every day.
Not that much for an entire year.
No. Yeah. Today I had a meeting with a company and I was explaining to them like our sponsorship program is one of our biggest, you know, goals is to be able to maintain it and increase it. And when I told them that it was $500 to send a kid to school, they were like, the whole year? With textbooks and 2 uniforms and exam fees and registration and report cards and everything, yes. The meal plan is more expensive, right? Because again, food is very hard to come by in Haiti. It's scarce. People are literally killing each other for a bowl of rice. I've seen it. I've seen it multiple times where we've done feeding programs and the lineup is like outrageous. You know, we might only have enough to feed 3,000 people and 10,000 people show up. You best believe a massive war happens, and you know, as it could be as sad as gunfires coming out, and you know, and that's just for a bowl of rice. So with the meal plan, it's an extra $5 a day per student. Right now, we're collecting funds for both the tuition fees and just the meals. And every dollar counts. So if you only have 20, you can go right again. It would be under our sponsorship program, and you could donate as little as $20 to get a tax receipt, and as much as you want to help send the kids to school with food. And again, you know, that's what we are hoping to do is be able to feed the kids. Like, I need to go to the
Sure.
bank tomorrow to send the payment for February and March. And that's it. So it's whether it's volunteering your time, go to our website. There's a volunteer where you can volunteer, what positions we're looking for, or how to just get involved. And then if you want to sponsor a student, you can sponsor a student. If you want to sponsor meals, you can sponsor meals. If you want to, sponsor some of our workshops, you can do that. It's a variety of things that we're doing, and we're trying to also, be respectful to the fact that we are registered in Canada, we are registered in the US, soon to be Haiti and Spain, and we want to also ensure that the funding that we're collecting is also going back into our communities. So we're not sending it all to Haiti. So we're starting feeding programs, in various states. We have some happening in Baltimore and Chicago. We'd like to spread that out. I think it's all very possible, but without the people and the funding, we get stuck. And sometimes I've learned my lesson, and I keep learning my lesson the hard way, taking on more than we can actually chew with such a small group. But, when you are surrounded with the right people and the right heart space, we do somehow pull it together and, make it happen. A lot of times it's in panic mode, but it happens.
It's happening. It's happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and $5 a day. Okay. So, it's like maybe consider, giving up your Starbucks for a few days a week and feed a child.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there. It's, it's an option. I'm not saying, that's necessarily what you need to do, but you could do it if, you wanted to see slow changes coming about in a country that obviously desperately needs that.
One of our 22 projects that I haven't really shared with any of the boards yet, but I have been working on for quite some time now, and it's taken a while to find the right people to do it. But we're looking at building one of the first trade schools ever in Haiti, and it's starting to come together, which, it's been a long time coming with the right people, the right groups. We're getting the floor plans, to be able to know that you were part of, doing something extraordinary for a country that everybody has forgotten about. I wouldn't have known it until I experienced how good of a feeling it is. Like I always say, in helping others, we're really helping ourselves. Because when you see the little things that you do and how big they are in other people's eyes, it makes you feel good. It gives you like a sense of like pride, and that becomes contagious, And I know it's a lot more work for Help Heal Humanity. I know it is, but we try to keep that personal connection. Like, your money went to support this child, or your money went to this meal program. And even though, especially because, like I said, some of the areas we work in, especially right now, everyone's lives are at risk, but everybody willingly does this. Like I'm always saying like safety first. And they're like, let's do it. We'll do it. And, so we don't have like the best photographers going out there because nobody wants to go in these areas with their beautiful cameras. And, this is where the missionaries were just kidnapped. This is where the biggest gangs are. Like we literally need to pass two of the biggest gangs that have taken over the country right now. And, like Christopher says, you'd think it'd be easy to go and help. I think it's, we encounter these bad people every day when we are in Haiti. We get pulled over. We get told certain things. And again, we're so honest with our guys, and we say to them, like, we don't got much. We're trying to help your people. Just let us pass successfully. And, and we give whatever they want. It's, we hustle with them, and we're like, you could kill us. Like, we have no money. You're not going to get a lot, but, we can give you this, and we can give you this, and we can help you out there. And that's, that's really
well, and they probably have some incentive to keep you alive, frankly, because they're probably hoping you're going to come back with more at another time.
Well, they end up then keeping us safe, because without being able to cross those borders, and that's why a lot of people can't go and give that international aid. You're going to stick out like a sore thumb, especially, I'm sorry to say, especially if you're, if you're white or if you're not of color, you're standing out. And that immediately says money, regardless of whether you have it or not. And then, I mean, there's people looking for you, like steps and steps ahead. There's people talking to each other. There's somebody coming in a truck, and there's these kind of people in it. Pull that truck over, get them. On my way home from the emergency relief, I ran into some of those situations. But again, this courageous heart of mine, it was like, come on, guys, like my heart, my personality, a little bit of shits and giggles, a little bit of hustle mentality. And before you know it, they're like laughing at me and they're like, yeah, okay, sister, go, 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 go. Right. So I think it's
my Serena.
Can other organizations, do what we do? I don't think so, to some degree, because they're not willing to take those risks. They're not fully immersed in the community with the community there to support them. Right? These big organizations, I think, are doing good, but they're also going in like large and in charge. And even though they're helping, they don't have that community behind them to say when the bad people come, no, you can't hurt her. No, you can't do that. She's here. She's she's for the people. She has nothing. What are you going to do? And they come and they support you and they make it okay for you. So, that's really what it is. And I'd love, we're not doing it right now, but if you come on a volunteer trip, or even if it's a local trip, if you start to actually come out with us, serve the homeless, see what's in your backyard, make, a sandwich for them or come overseas with us. HHH doesn't have to do anything. That experience does it all. And what you do with that experience is going to determine your next steps. I find that so many people get so scared and then they come out there not knowing what to expect. And then within minutes, like people are taking off their coats and their boots and they're giving them and they're making, and I always have to like kind of prep people too, because depending on the situation, like you just get in it in the moment and it kind of takes over you and it moves you and you don't even know what the hell you're doing. And that's kind of what happened to me. I just roll up my sleeves and I start helping and you just do what you got to do. And then all of a sudden you take a step back and you finally stop and you reflect and you're like, what the hell just happened? If anything, it makes you a better person. Like you cannot see and experience that kind of stuff in the world, that degree of suffering, even in your backyard or overseas, like in places like Haiti, you can't see that and not be affected by it. Even if you say,
oh yeah, you just see the videos, you see the footage, you see the pictures that you took. And one of the heartbreaking things that I got to tell people about when you told me this is I said, do people mind you taking their pictures? Because you sit there and we saw some of the footage that Serena was taking. And I'm like, do they mind? I mean, you're kind of being invasive. Do they think like, oh, you're trying to glamorize us or something like that? And tell her what you said to me about taking pictures. And then I want you to talk, I want to shift gears for a second. I want to talk about all the work that you're doing there in Hamilton, Ontario with the homeless. I want you to talk about, the perspective that people may have a misunderstanding about the homeless situation and the things that you've seen. So just a little bit of a two-part question, but I would love for people to hear what the reaction was when you said, let me take your picture.
So when we arrived in Haiti again, we went to Jeremy, which was the second largest city affected by the earthquake. And there was nobody in Jeremy. So that's why we decided to focus on that. And again, I feel guilty taking your pictures and taking videos of you, but I would show up and it wouldn't even be me. It'd be all the HHH volunteers. We were a group of about 25 and we'd pull the community together. And the guys would say like, we're Help Heal Humanity. We're very small. We don't have a lot of money. What we're trying to do is get the story out there about how much help we need. So today we can feed you guys lunch and we can give you some peas and rice and oils. And if any of you are willing to come and photograph you or tell your story, we can't promise anything except for we're going to try to get that story out there so that we can continue to help. And I mean, I'm strong. I cried behind that camera so many times. I couldn't hold it together. And usually I can because I'd have the translator there and we would be like walking through rubble, like complete rubble, like shambles. And there'd be a mother like crying on top of the roof. And she'd be like, I have a husband and 6 kids down there. They're all dead and I can't get them out. And I would do anything if you can just help me with a tent or a tarp. Like when they even ask for something, that's what I mean is like, I start crying on the other end because what they're asking for is so basic. It's so small. They're not asking you for $100,000 or to build them a house.
I was going to say things that most Americans can't even fathom asking for.
Yeah.
Or having to ask for. Yeah.
And it was lineup after lineup, kids, blind, the elderly, people who lost their legs and their limbs, people who became blind, people who were burnt, people who lost their families, lost their homes. I was walking to places where you see like the entire rubble, like where the earth shattered and the rocks were falling, like landing on everybody's houses, and everyone's like trying to show me around. And it was almost heartfelt because everybody wanted their story told. And it was really hard to say no to people. And it was just like, it got to the point where I'm like, I can't listen to any more stories, because the amount of suffering is enormous. And so they would do that, and we'd give them the peas, the rice, and then we'd go back the next day and we'd give them, hygiene products. And then the people were just shocked that we actually came back again and that we gave them more stuff. And then, we asked them, okay, we're not giving it to your leader, because sometimes the leader can also be corrupt. And sometimes the leader can say, I'm not giving you this unless you guys do this. So we'd, again, pull the community and we'd say, okay, we have 20 big tarps to come with, like massive tarps that will, each tarp will house 20, 30 people. Give us the list of who you want to receive them. And they would be shocked, because we would go back the next day, we'd get that list, and we wouldn't just give them a tarp. We would set up the tarp. We'd make sure the tarp is secure for them. We'd make sure that they had everything. And like, it was so sad. We didn't even have tarp, we're ripping materials, old sheets to like make things work. And it's just like, and then people would try to give me their last mango, or people would come up to me and like bless me. And I'm like, I don't deserve this, because this is so small. This is nothing. And, if we had more money and more people who would trust in us and just watch us live on the grounds and see that none of us are getting paid, like a little bit goes such a far way. And all of them wanted their stories told. I have hundreds of hours of people telling me their story, kids, babies, like mothers. Like, it's sad because there's a lot of violence there too. So you have hundreds of people living in literally dirt, no tents, they have no tarps. There's bad people there. There's rapes happening. There's young kids having babies. There's no contraception. There's no medical. There's no way. There's nothing. And then like, and
infrastructure is gone for one, right? I mean, you're dealing with a government that's like largely useless.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a free for all.
And then that's it. And, and people don't realize that putting the money in the government's hands was the worst thing that they could have done. Right. So I think there's a new plea, to help Haiti. And I think they're asking all governments, all countries, come together. And what we need the most help with is law and order. We just need to be able to walk down our street, and then if we can do that, then we move on to the major things like healthcare, education. They don't have that. So again, we take the basics for granted, and a whole bunch of us giving our time, our energy, and just our spare change can add up to mountains.
Literally, spare change, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what we're trying to do. We're not only trying to help Haiti, but we're trying to help, all humanity slowly but surely. And I think, if we just continue small steps, small goals, eventually we'll be able to get to hopefully the point where, we can not just be a little seedling in the ground anymore.
Oh, we're going to be massive. It's going to be massive.
Yeah.
But talk to us again about what you're doing in Hamilton and the homeless situation, because I know, shifting gears a little bit, I know people might have a misconception about the homeless situation right now. So what are your thoughts and feedback on that? Because I know you've done tremendous amounts of work in there in unifying, food vendors and things of that nature. So talk to us about that experience.
So, yeah, I mean, especially like I was born and raised here in, Hamilton, Ontario, Toronto, Canada. But it wasn't until COVID that I came home, because I figured it's about time, if I'm going to quarantine somewhere, and I might as well go to my country where I have healthcare and security. Mm-hmm. And the first day I came out of quarantine, I was walking because I love to walk. I love nature. And I saw hundreds of tents. And I was like, what the hell is that? Like, how is that even possible? And immediately I just went out there and I started like, what do you guys need? How do we help? And everybody was like, we need food. We need food. So, I started to work with other NGOs, work with getting students involved. We started raising money. We got a couple of chefs to come in, and we would regularly go out and feed the homeless daily. Like, they relied on us to feed them. And, it picked up. Like, we were going, people were calling us, there's a tent city here, there's a tent city there. And we'd go show up to the tent cities and we'd feed them. And, we're still doing that, except for they keep tearing down the tents, right? And then they're relocating. So it's getting difficult to serve when they're kind of spread out all over the place. But also, we have connected with a couple local shelters who are, again, they're led by a single woman who has a lot of heart and a lot of passion, and is like, I don't care if I'm not allowed to do this, I'm going to do this anyway. And then, some people come and support it. And those are the current shelters that I'm really, Help Heal Humanity is really supporting. The ones that don't have charity status, so they can't even get grants, so we're applying for grants to be able to feed them, because now they're going through this particular shelter instead of the street. But in all of my life of serving, I've been doing it for like 20 years faithfully. So it's like second nature to me, but I forget how much of an impact, when we bring out students, when we bring out volunteers, and we bring out at least, 3 to 4 volunteers every time we go out there, even over the holidays, Christmas giving, and you see what it's doing. Like, everybody's scared of the homeless. Everybody sees the homeless as people who are uneducated, people who have severe mental health, people who are not happy, a sense of whatever, not good feelings about the homeless. Let's just put it that way. Yep. When the volunteers go out there, they are absolutely shocked by how we're greeted with so much gratefulness. Like, the people look at you in the eye and they say, like, thank you. Like, we appreciate you. Like, you're so kind. And then that's what I mean. Like, the volunteers get hooked, because then you see you're actually doing something to help somebody. And then you when you go week after week after week, you form relationships with them, right? And then you say, like, hey, what size boots are you wearing? Like, let's get you a pair of boots, or you need new blankets. And then, the volunteers go back and they start messaging their friends and their family. I need blankets. I need coats. I need this. And then they keep going back out, because the image that they had of them and their perception of them versus what the reality is completely changed. And when people realize these are humans who are struggling and they just don't know how to get back on top again, and they don't have the resources like we do, and that we can actually be able to be the light for them, it starts to lift everyone's frequency, and everybody gets something out of it. So I think
that's such an important point. Like, I don't want to gloss over that even a little bit, because I think in America, we are so accustomed to our way of life, and we are so comfortable that it's never really enough. We always think there's something else I should be, there's something else we're always looking for all these things externally to make us happier and make our lives better. And meanwhile, if we would stop for a moment and think, maybe I just need to do something for someone else. What if I took my energy and invested it somewhere where I can make a difference?
Yeah.
What would that be like?
And that's the key, is most people aren't thinking that way, but that is where the big shifts happen to you personally. And that's where you see this new side of you that you didn't even know was possible. And if we can start to get people to think that way, it will shift their perspective on life in general, right? And that's what it is. It's the basic human needs, and knowing that you have these gifts inside of you and you can give that and pass that on to others and inspire and motivate others. And if we do that, I constantly say the entire world can change based on kindness. Just doing it because you can and because you have the heart and the spirit. And I'm telling you, if I tried to think about it, if I tried to plan it out, if I tried to have all the answers, I would have never got started. But as you get going, it starts to present itself to you. And that is, again, that's when the magic happens. So like, just do it. I don't know how else to explain to people.
Just get off your ass.
No. It's true. And, I mean, if you stop and think, what if all of these things happened in America? What if it was you in that situation? And what would it be like to have someone come and say, let me help you. Let me help you find something to eat today. I mean, it's like when you put it in that light, you really have to think about it.
And the other thing that I could never be miserable a day in my life. I can't. It's impossible. No matter what obstacle is thrown my way. When I see people like in Haiti or in Cambodia and Africa, when they wake up with absolutely, literally nothing, and they have these beautiful smiles, I'm like, what are we doing wrong in the world? Like, why
is America the most unhappy country in the world?
Right? Yes.
And yet the most prosperous, quote unquote.
Yeah. And that's why we need to come together and fix that.
One step at a time. I mean, but to your point, Serena, I mean, that's one of the things I learned when I first started getting into coaching is I didn't care about the money. I just wanted to help people. And one of the things I figured out is I was after I saw the movie Pay It Forward with Haley Joel Osment. And I was like, okay, I could take my gift of being able to coach people. And what I'll have them do is I'll have them go do 3 nice things for a complete stranger, come back and tell me about it. So I was like, was my fee. And so I would coach them for 3 months. And I'm like, okay, within the 3 months, you got to go do these 3 things, come back and tell me about this. And I thought, okay, I'm doing this. And I felt really good. And I thought it was going to be my coaching that was going to help them the most. But to your point, Serena, they would come back to me like, man, and just that perspective shift of gratitude of what we take for granted on a daily basis. I tell people all the time, they're like, oh, I'm having a bad day. I'm like, did you happen to go to any place in your house and turn a silver faucet and hot water came out of the fucking wall? That's pretty amazing, right? And they come back with those shifts like, wow, when I have extra food and I throw it away, I feel bad now. And I, just having these awarenesses that you're right, that they're normal people, that they've gotten into a situation that they can't get out of. And they just need some people to believe in them, to help them, to give them a hand up. And I know a lot of people disagree with that, but at the same time, you never know until you're in that situation. I was in that situation. I was homeless for 4 years. It's not as easy to, when you say come up with the first, last in your deposit and you're barely making enough to feed yourself every single week, that's impossible almost. So it's crazy. So to your point, whenever people are feeling down, I'm like, go do something nice for somebody else. And I swear to God, you will come back a different person.
Yeah. It's true. And, even when I work with other charities, it's like, I'll put my time and effort into giving somebody off the street those services because I know that those people will be able to better help them or guide them. Right. So it's just about sharing contacts and resources. Maybe you can't do something yourself, but your word of mouth can mean a lot, right? Yeah. And again, people don't realize that just that in itself is a big deal. Like all these little things that seem so minute and like they're not going to make a difference in this world. It's actually those things that make the biggest difference. It is those random acts of kindness. It's those, words of advice. It's, being there to lift somebody up with expecting nothing back in return, that everything comes back to you tenfold. Stop thinking about the money in the paycheck and think about the services that you can do for others. And in a weird way, that money or that goal will start to come to you because you were open enough to share, sharing.
Amen.
That kindergarten lesson.
Yeah. I had a meeting today with 4 grade 7 girls. And, last year they were in grade 6 and they raised $8,000 in a couple weeks for us. And then, this year they have this whole new model that they present to me today. And I was like, you girls are so incredible. I'm like, you're in grade 7. I'm like, we also can even go bigger. Like we can record everything that we're doing. And we can
say that needs to be a full-fledged campaign right there.
Right. And we can send this to all the other grade 7 and 8 classes and be like, why aren't you guys joining us? Right. And that's what it is. It's like these kids that are still young. And I mean, life is so hard today with Instagram and Facebook and all these, Snapchat and that. But if you can channel their energy into, their greatness. And again, kids love like, I can do something to help somebody else. Like, what do you mean? Show me, teach me. and then, you know, guide me. And then as soon as they get that or a taste of it, like, I mean, they're coming back for more. And I'm like, girls, man, whatever you guys want to do, I got your back. We just got to get the teachers and the administrators to agree with what we're doing.
Right? It's always the adults that you're dragging along behind you, right?
Yeah.
Well, you know, and I've told this story before, but, you know, I grew up a minister's daughter. And so I would sometimes go with my dad to visit people who were like shut in, you know, it was really from a pretty young age, 6, 7 years old. And, you know, that was such an important part of me becoming who I was, because it exposed me to things at such a young age. I realized just exactly what you were saying, is that you have this power as an individual to make a difference in someone else's life. And that is such a powerful lesson for kids to learn. And when you learn it, you don't forget it, you know, I mean, and so for us as adults to understand that it's kind of our responsibility to help our kids realize, look, you can do powerful things in the world, and this is how you do it, you know, and to let them experience that is really an amazing thing.
That's the key, experimental learning. You know, that's the other thing. Like I said, academics is great, but like getting kids out there, showing them, getting them involved, getting them to participate, getting them to do the deeds gives them purpose, and it gives them a whole new perspective. And that's, you know, that's the kind of education I'd like HHH to be known for, is creating, you know, alongside academics, this different kind of perspective in life. And that's, you learn by doing. I hate textbooks. Oh God, I don't like textbooks at all. Right? But, you know, if you show me how to do things and you teach me, I'm gonna comprehend that a million times better than reading the textbook or watching the lectures, right? And I think we just need more of that. You know, we need more of that in the world. And I'm hoping maybe COVID reshifts us all to understand that there's more to life than just, you know, that big paycheck or all those followers and, you know, all of that kind of stuff that seems so important that really is not that important.
The egoic-based bullshit. Yep.
Yeah.
So now we have a new board member. Her name is Pamela.
We just nominated her right this moment.
You see how we recruit?
I say aye. Okay, all in favor. Yep.
In favor.
Okay, you're good. Sworn in.
Pass. Welcome to the team, Pamela.
Thank you. I'm honored. No, but really, I mean, and I think that's kind of a fun way of just saying, look, that's how easy it is. Like, it really is. Just like, make yourself available and just go, hey, if, you know, I have an hour a week, or, you know, or I have $10, you know, whatever, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is that you have that you can give, just say, hey, this is the thing I have, you know, and that thing can make a really big difference. So don't feel like your thing is too small.
No, it's never too small. I would have never guessed that, you know, somehow my students and I, who didn't even have parents to go home to say, you know, can you help us raise money, that we were able to do this slowly over time and build a school. Oh, my dog's going crazy. And it's like every small act. And I think the smaller actually ends up being bigger because it's got more heart attached to it. And for me, like, that heart and that integrity means everything.
Do you find, Serena, with all the work that you've done with kids, do you see a difference in the kids of today versus the kids of yesterday? I mean, thinking about the snowflakes they're talking about, what do you see as being their priority? Because from what I see in that generation is they really want to be involved in impact. They want to be involved in the stuff that we're talking about more so than any other generation before. Is that what you're seeing on the streets as well?
It's what I'm seeing. I think like everyone is, you know, even the elementary kids, the high school kids, like they're all focused on their academics and they're focused on what, sorry, 1 second. Poopy,
Pets.
Poopy, the dog. I'm home by myself and the dog is like ripping apart stuff. So I'm just trying to get him to settle down. Sorry about that.
If it wasn't your dog, it'd be my cat. So
yeah. So what I'm finding is when I go in and do a presentation, I find that, like, again, because this isn't a textbook and this isn't academics and you're not being tested, and we're just going to invite you to experience something different that can only happen with you. I see the kids buy into it immediately. like immediate, like when I'm presenting at schools, I'm not lying to you, the kids will go to the washroom and go inside their locker, and they'll come back with their jacket or their boots, and they'll be like, "Miss, give this to the kids." And I'm like, no. I'm like, you probably want to discuss it with your parents first, but they are so, again, like, I don't think anybody's told them or showed them that that they can be that. So the minute that they realize that they can be that for others, they're instantly like inspired. Wait, show me. What do I do? How do I do it? And that to me is the greatest gift, to be able to give them that, to go on and experience that for themselves. It doesn't need to be for Help Heal Humanity. I mean, that helps, but just to be able to give those people that experience and to be able to have that little shift in their perspective. I've done a wonderful job here on this planet, if I can do that.
So awesome.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, this has been incredible. I know we all could just talk all night, probably.
Oh, yeah.
But just remind the audience how they can find you, what your website is, how they can connect, all that good stuff.
Helphealhumanity.org, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all those social channels is Help Heal Humanity. Sign up for our newsletter. Send us an email, info@helphealhumanity.org, and find us on social media. Send us messages. I mean, we're always looking to connect. We're always looking to collaborate. And, we're also looking to learn together and grow together, because we don't have all the answers, but you might, and together we can figure it out.
Yes. And you can reach out directly to us, reach out to myself, reach out to Serena. I mean, it's all about that community. So if you're watching this, whether it's live on the replay and you feel called to do more, just reach out. I'm happy to walk you through the website and walk you through what it is that, we stand for and what we're about. I mean, that's one of the big things that intrigued me so much to be a part of this organization, is first getting to know Serena. I had our fellow mutual friend, Patricia, said, you need to meet this girl. You need to have her on our show. She's remarkable. Had her on my show. And I was just like, oh my God, whenever you do something in the United States, sign me up. And she's like, hey, you want to be on the board? And I was absolutely, because, when I think about nonprofits and I think about donating money, you always wonder, because you hear those news reports, like, where's that money really going to? It's like 25 cents is going to feed somebody, but the other 75 cents is going to the guy that needs, 17 bedrooms in his house, and finding out directly from this source right here, all the sacrifices that you made, the teaching career that you left behind, the lucrative situations and the time off that you had to say, listen, I'm going to do this. And obviously what you shared today, that was like, hell yeah, I'm on board. Because without a shadow of a doubt, the sincerity and the heart of Serena's mission and everybody that she has on the team, we're all driven to that same excellence and that same impact. So if you ever want a place to lay your head where that you're making a significant impact for the real and the right reasons, Help Heal Humanity is definitely your spot.
Yeah, it is. And like I said, we're just very grassroots. So we need all the help you can get. You come for a year, you make a difference, you leave, you never forget that. We're always on good terms. And now you have contacts all over the world. That's hopefully what we can do, is build this volunteer network all over the world of people helping people.
Love it. Well, thank you so much again for being on. And before we close, as you know, obviously the name of this show is Rainbows and Real Life. So we've kind of been a little bit deep tonight with our topic. So we'll lighten it up just a tad bit. Which do you think is more of an illusion, rainbows or real life?
Oh God, I'm going to say real life. Real life. I think everyone is trying to be, I think, somebody that they think they're supposed to be, and not really truly being who they're meant to be.
Amen.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, and thank you again, all of you out there in the listening world. We appreciate you so much. Such a joy to have you with us, as always. And we look forward to seeing you again next week. So goodbye, everyone.
Take care. Everyone. They kick ass.
Yes.
Help Heal Humanity.
Help Heal Humanity. .org. Bye, everyone.